Released as soon as possible. Track temperature 24 degrees. It's a dry day. A lot of overnight rain meant the track was damp this morning, but it's dried out very effectively indeed. Of course, being near the sea means there's always a bit of a breeze, and that also has the effect of dragging some sand onto the circuit, which can catch people out as well. 50-minute race, mandatory pit stops between 20 and 30 minutes, with 60 seconds for the two driver entries, 63 for the soloist, and Milos Pavlovic there lining up on pole position in the Pro-Am car that he shares with Peter Matic. Milos Pavlovic, runner-up yesterday in Pro-Am. David Addison trackside, Gemma Scott down on the grid, and Mattia Michelotto lining up on the third row. He will do the second stint in number 6. He's with Gemma.
Matteo, we're down here on row 3, of course. Optimum position for a start, on the outside perhaps?
Yes, very good start in third field. I'm very happy. I think my stint, the tire is old, but the low fuel, but it's okay.
You're looking forward to the race.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mattia Michelotto, regular Lamborghini racer in the Italian GT Championship, sharing with Michael Dorbecker, who will start. It's one driver, one session as far as qualifying is concerned. So, for example, the driver that did Q1 started yesterday's race, and of course the driver starting here did the second session there is Noah Watt, who will take over from Sebastian Balthazar. Noah with his headphones on, son of Jason Watt, former single-seater and sports car racer. A very rapid Dane, and drink bottle handed to Sebastian Balthazar. Yesterday's race ended up inevitably with dramas, but also some penalties for people pitting at the wrong time. I'll tell you more about that in a moment, but the point behind it all is that that was the winning car yesterday, Sebastian Balthazar and Noah Watt. Let's get back to Gemma on the grid.
Max, this is your home race, Zandvoort here, as a Dutch driver. It's a great place for you to be performing in front of friends and family.
I've never drove here that much before, so that's quite strange. It's my home country, that's right. But yeah, we didn't have here a pre-season test or something like that, so it's quite difficult for me. I'm starting from the 9th place. Like yesterday, I came from the 8th place, dropping to the 4th place overall. So my speed was quite okay at the end, but for the qualified was difficult for me. But we are trying to improve, and it's still going on.
So not really an advantage being at home, but certainly a fantastic track that has been built here and developed over the last few years.
It's a fantastic track. It's a little bit like old school around the dunes, and I really like it. The height difference, so great.
And of course you're driving alone, you have no teammate.
No, that's right. I'm driving on my own. I can do everything by myself, like the tire management, that's really nice. But next to that, it's difficult that I have to wait 3 seconds longer in the pit lane. When I'm going to overtake somebody and he's driving behind me, after the pit lane he overtakes me again. So that's sometimes difficult and strange, but we have to deal with it.
Absolutely, we'll have a great race, Max. Thank you.
So Max Wearing then starts this race from quite a long way back, actually, on the 5th row, but he had a win at Monza. More Dutch drivers in the entry include Max Ooston, who will go first in number 54, sharing with Milan Tikens. And we have the number 54 Rinaldi entry, good to go. Number 11, that is the car of double winners this year, Kevin Gilardoni and Leonardo Porcini. Now, yesterday, Jonathan Cecotto and Kevin Rossell were leading, but they tried to squeeze it as late as possible before making the pit stop and came in 2 or 3 seconds after the window had closed. And as a result of that, they got a drive-through for not stopping within the window. The pit stop itself was short anyway, so they got a time penalty for that. But the biggest problem was not serving the stop at the right time. 54 we've talked about, and Milan Tikens will do the second stint after he's talked to Gemma.
Milan, this is absolutely a home adventure for you guys as a Dutch team and Dutch drivers.
Yeah, it's for the racing. We have raced here in other series and also on a new track, so you know where to overtake. And I could take advantage of that in the first race, and I hope Maxime can do the same as I did.
Absolutely. Well, you're starting here down on the 2nd row, of course.
Yeah, really. No, we were not really happy with the qualifying because we Yeah, we had not had so much laps because of the 4 yellows. But yeah, P4 is not bad. We can still fight for the win. So yeah, let's see.
Where are the most optimum places for overtaking?
I think turn 3, the banking, and yeah, turn 1.
Looking at turn 1, you've got a fair lead down into the corner. There's a lot of competition behind you piling in with great force.
Yeah, it's really tricky always at the start, but you just have to find your way and yeah, try to overtake someone because the attack is always the best defense. So.
Well, have a great race. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
So the drivers that were second yesterday, Milan Tikens and Max Usten, behind Sebastian Balthazar and Noah Watt. The delay that we have is because of some barrier damage, so we're going to be about 15 minutes late or so when the race gets underway. But a big accident in the earlier GT4 race caused a red flag and a long stoppage, and then we had a car off right at the end which hit the Armco, and Armco doesn't like being hit, so that's just being sorted out as well as you look at the Bronek Formulet Josef Zaruba car, which Josef Zaruba will start for this race, number 66, the Michenek Motorsport ACCR entry.
Happy birthday! Happy birthday!
And happy birthday to the team. Josef Zaruba in loquacious form. So let's see how that car gets on. 3 minutes now to go to the start. Back down to the grid we can go. Let's rejoin Gemma.
Flagioni, you're starting from a fair way back on the grid. There's a lot of work to do to get into that first corner and into a good position.
Yeah, right. We have to be careful about that. The first corner is very difficult. Let's say the second and the third as well. So we have to be careful, yeah.
There's a lot of very close competition. This Lamborghini grid is very, very impressive. There's a lot of cars, but the distance between you, or the time distance between you, is impressive.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, this is why we have to be careful about that. But yeah, we are very close. So it means that we are talking about some details. And yeah, okay, we'll see. But we have to be, let's say, careful about safety car, about full course yellow. So we'll see.
Well, in other races running today, we've seen a lot of action already. It's been a very dramatic Sunday. So
yeah, we cross the fingers. We'll see, but we hope to be safe at the end. Yeah.
I think the race director would like to see it clean.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Let's see.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Pierre Legioni had a win yesterday in the Lamborghini Cup, along with Daniel Waszyński, who starts the car today, and they also had a win in the first round at Monza. So Pierre, who a few years ago you might recall raced in the Blancpain GT Sports Club events that we had at SRO events, he coming into Lamborghini racing this year. Kevin Rossell there starting for GSM today, who hopefully have got their watches synchronised to avoid the pit stop problems of yesterday. And they're looking down the grid. Number 2 on the outside of the front row, Sebastian Balthazar. There is 61 Max Weering that we heard from earlier. Alongside is 41 Raul Gutzmann starts the car today with another Dutch driver, Glenn van Berlo, to take it over in the second stint. So the grid is formed and 1 minute to go. So everybody now with the engines fired up, the engineers leave the grid, and the leading car, the Lamborghini Urus, will take them away in a moment, and then we will be in business. 50 minutes, then pit window between 20 and 30. Second race of the weekend, as I say, yesterday won by Sebastian Balthazar and Noah Watt from Milan Tikens and Max Usten, with Kevin Gilardoni and Leonardo Porcini finishing in third place. In the championship now, it is in the Pro class, Noah Watt and Sebastian Balthazar are the leaders from Porcini and Gilardoni. Max Weering is third, and Tikens and Usten are fourth. In Pro-Am, Karol Basch and Andrei Lewandowski are the leaders there, 6 points up on the car driven by Andrea Kola and Dimitri Lutzfava. And then third in Pro-Am is the Bronek Formulet Josef Zaruba entry that we looked at a little while ago. Claude-Yves Gosselin is, as the cars blast away on the green flag lap, the leader of the AM class from the absent Raffaele Giannone and yesterday's winner Ray Calvin. And in the Lamborghini Cup, there's only a point in it actually between BFL Legioni, Daniel Waszyński, and then Hans Fabry, who had 2 wins each. Milos Pavlovic is on pole. Sebastian Balthazar lines up with him at the front of the grid. On the second row, Kevin Gilardoni starts, so too does Maxime Usten. On the third row, Kiko Galbiati and Michael Durbecker for VS Racing, ahead of Josef Zaruba and Kevin Rossell. Starting 9th is Max Weering. Starting 10th is Raul Gutzmann. 11th on the grid is where you find Guillaume Pujol and Andrea Cola lining up alongside him. Then there is Gabriel Rindoni ahead of Andrei Lewandowski, who had a problem in the race yesterday and dropped back. Ray Calvin, a class winner, lines up alongside Gerhard Watzinger. Then there is Marc Rostin, sharing this weekend with Claude Gosselin. Oliver Freimut's a soloist, lining up alongside him ahead of Daniel Waschinski and Hans Fabry. That's the Lamborghini Cup battle between those two on row 10, ahead of Luciano Privitello and Kumar Prabhakara, the Malaysian driver, who with no racing in the Far East at the moment is doing it all over here. Danny Cruz, number 33, that car damaged in qualifying, didn't get into yesterday's race much because it went off early after Dan Powell had a moment in it. And hopefully on the grid, Dan Wells, the car that he shares with Oscar Lee, penalised yesterday for causing the incident that put 33 in the gravel in qualifying, but never came out into the race. So it remains to be seen whether the Dan Wells Oscar Lee car is there, because Dan Wells particularly is a very, very quick driver, having made his name really over the last few seasons in China and in Far East racing over there, in saloons, in sports cars, as well as in sim racing, actually, both in terms as a driver and also building the sim rigs for other people. This is Max Weering's view as he comes then now down to the Hans Ernst Bocht. And now the cars get themselves, or should be getting themselves, into this side-by-side formation. Very, very slow from the leading car, which now does start to see in the mirrors the field getting into the right order. So it is Milos Pavlovic then on pole position. There's number 12, Daniel Waschinski in the Lamborghini Cup. Max Weering's view. It's all a little bit untidy as the drivers get set for the start then, as they come at a snail's pace, it feels, through the Kumho Bocht. And I think this is all because they were in a little bit of disrepute around the lap. So the lead car has had to go slowly to let them all catch up, to get the start into a kind of semblance here as they come through the Lyndike curve then, up towards the start of the second race of the weekend, the 6th race in the championship, and Milos Pavlovic, the Serbian, on pole position. Alongside him you can see there Sebastian Balthazar. Up towards the timing line they will come. The lead car ready to bail for the pit lane. The race director, Daniele Galbiati, is set to give the instruction, and we've got one car there heading towards the grass. I think that was the Maxime Houston entry with a slow car ahead. So was that Noah Watts and Sebastian Balthazar's car that was sluggish off the line, causing a bit of drama behind? Either way, there's a change for second place going into turn 1, because up the inside goes Kevin Gilardoni, but the race leader is Milos Pavlovic, who's getting away already, but a slightly confused start looking from the back of the grid there. Here, look, having fallen into the body of the pack is Max Houston. Comes out of the bank turn 3 onto the power up through Hunsrug for the first time. So the race underway, the clock ticks down, and a good getaway from pole by Milos Pavlovic, who is very much the pro in that Pro-Am entry with Peter Matic, his co-driver. He will do the second stint, having done a bit of racing in the 24-hour series before coming into Super Trofeo this year. And as the cars dive down through turn 8 for the first time, they're going through is Josef Zaruba. Max Weering's view, and he's on the back of Zaruba as well, as they here turn into turn 9. Nose to tail they run, as there you see Kevin Gilardoni trying to break away from yesterday's winner Sebastian Balthazar, but up front Milos Pavlovic scarpering into the distance. And Pavlovic has a plan here, because he is quicker than his co-driver. He has got to go and build up the lead. Now, an overall win is unlikely for that car, but a class win is a possibility. So Pavlovic has got to give his co-driver the absolute best chance possible. Through they turn out of the bank right of the Arrow Lyndike curve up towards the timing line. Past the pits they will come then, and one goes for the pit lane straight away. Now, who is that coming in and why? So down the pit road has come Kiko Galbiati. Is that a penalty that he suddenly picked up? It looks like a drive-through, doesn't it? I haven't seen a drive-through on the screen, and I wasn't aware of a drive-through, but it looks as though a penalty has been applied to Galbiati, presumably as a legacy of something of yesterday. So the car comes down the pit road, will rejoin, but Kiko Galbiati then with a drive-through will try and unravel that in a moment and get to the bottom of it. As the leader goes through, Pavlovic clear, Gilardoni in second place, Balthazar third, then it is Houston ahead of Durbecker, ahead of Kevin Rossell. Out of Skyflach they come. In a big hurry there is Danny Cruz. So good to have him back in the championship. Former Dutch Supercar Championship racer. Came into Super Trofeo a couple of seasons back and was very, very quick indeed. And although we've not seen much of him in Lamborghinis of late, he's doing a good job now. Replay of the start. Yes, Sebastian Balthazar was slow away. Lost out in a straight line though as the cars came past the pits. From another angle you see one or two of them being very, very quick away. The start procedure is under investigation as well. Out of Tarzan, the car's turned on the opening lap, and this is out of Ari Lindijk curve up towards the end of now lap 2. So the leader goes by. That is Milos Pavlovic, with Kevin Gilardoni second, Sebastian Balthazar third, and the gap first to second now, 1.9 seconds. Pavlovic leading Pro-Am. Pro Kevin Gilardoni is the leader. The leading Am is Gabriel Rindoni, and the leading Lamborghini Cup entrant is Hans Fabry. All 24 are on the grid, by the way, so the good news is that Dan Wells' car did make it out. Way up the banking goes Danny Cruz. So he started, what, 23rd on the grid, and he's now running in 12th place with Dan Pell, his co-driver, set to take over. Another place gain, because up past Guillaume Peugeot goes Danny Cruz, so continuing to make progress forward all the time here. So the race leaders then currently work lap 3. There is Cruz for Bonaldi Motorsport. Danny Cruz up through turn 9, whereas Kevin Gilardoni is hunting down the race leader, the gap 1.9 seconds between them. No further action from the investigation into the start procedure. All good there, say the officials. Over at turn 8 there, the Masters Bocht, the cars go through the right. But up front, Milos Pavlovic, who going back a long, long time, was regular in UK single-seaters in things like Formula Vauxhall, Formula 3. Spent a long spell in the World Series by Renault. In GP2, he was the pro champion in this series back in 2014. Lamborghini factory driver. Very, very experienced is Milos Pavlovic. He's done the fastest lap of the race. He's 1.7 seconds to the good. The real opposition there, just going through the shot, is 66, Josef Zaruba. That's the next Pro-Am car. So that's the one he's gauging all this against. Gabriel Rindoni for Lippert, leading in Am at the moment. Had a spin yesterday, but Gabriel Rindoni is a quick driver, and he's been a front runner within the class. Not yet had a win, surprisingly, but he's always been there or thereabouts when we've seen him this season. So the man from Luxembourg goes through, out of Hunsrück. Coming under attack, though, that's Dan Wells behind him, charging along as only Dan knows how to. 51 is the number on the car, and the British driver comes from Skyflach up towards now turn 8. Despite Dan's experience, can't think he's done that many miles around here. Possibly in the 24-hour series Creventic races maybe, but right now he's giving Rindoni a tough time. At the back of the pack is Kumar Prabhakaran, who was learning the circuit really all through yesterday and trying to get on with the job here as the field dives down towards turns 11 and 12, with there Kevin Rossell just ahead of Raul Gutzman, the Mexican driver, right on his tail. Kevin Rossell back onto the power now as he sprints down towards the Kumho Bocht. Kevin Rossell, the Danish driver, sweeps through for the GSM Racing squad up towards the timing line once again. So Pavlovic leads, but the real fight for race honours, I suspect, is going to be between Gilardoni and Balthazar, because in the second stint you take number 3, the leading car, out of the mix with the pace of the second driver, put it back into the Pro-Am contest really, and then you start to see what's going to happen between Gilardoni, who will hand over to Porcini, and Balthazar, who will give way to Noah Watt, as there Dan Wells gets past Gabriel Rindoni coming down towards turn 1. As I say, for Pavlovic and Matic, it's the class victory that counts, and they're well clear of Josef Zaruba at the moment, and he's a bit quicker than Bronek Formanek, so still could be advantage there. Number 9, Kiko Galbiati, still trying to get to the bottom of his drive-through, but he is now in 19th overall, still fighting back up the order. So So 42.5 minutes on the clock. The race leaders currently work lap number 5, and 1.6 seconds was the lead margin last time around. So Pavlovich well clear in his class. Gabriel Rindoni also at the moment ahead of this man, Ray Calvin, but that gap's coming down between the two of them, in fact, so there could be a battle on there before much longer. And Gilardoni is doing his best to fend off the challenge now of Balthazar, but if anything, that gap looks like it's coming down too. Out to the line dike curve, up towards the line they come once again. And the answer to why Kiko Galbiati has had a drive-through is because it's going to be a solo effort in this race. Miguel Ramos can't take part in the race, and if you've entered as a two-driver combination, but your other driver then doesn't or can't drive, then you get this drive-through penalty. It was affecting another car over the weekend that subsequently withdrew, but that is the reason that Kiko Galbiati will do the race on his own, so he has to serve that drive-through and then also, of course, make the slightly longer pit stop now. On board with Max Wearing, currently in 8th place. Down towards turn 8 goes the Flying Dutchman, winner at Monza in a race affected by tyre dramas, late race, but he's doing a good job here and actually benefiting from the fight ahead of him, because Kevin Rossell being given a hard time by Raul Gutzmann, so that means that that gap is coming down. That battle is well and truly joined as the cars now come towards this section, turns 11 and 12. Balthazar there on the back of Kevin Gilardoni. Over the timing line they will come once more, but now you can see second, third and fourth, which is 1, 2 and 3 in Pro, all bunching up. Gilardoni under attack. He's had 2 wins this year with Leonardo Porcini. Sebastian Balthazar winner yesterday, and then the Dutch drivers, Max Oosten, Milan Tikens running there behind them, third in class. Finished second yesterday. What can they do today? Out of turn 3, Hugenholz-Bock on board now with Oosten. Fantastic part of the circuit, this. The real estate gobbled up mighty quickly. This is 7, Skyflach. The Kink, 8. The Masters curve here, the right-hander. Unwind the lock, into 9. Another sharp left at turn 10 before we get back on the power, back down towards the run around the back of the paddock here. 9 minutes of the pit window opening. Avoid those tyre stacks. You can see all the standing water on the inside there on the runoff area. Testimony of how much overnight rain again we had last night here. And then with the gravel ready to receive you on the outside of the Kumho box, turn through the first right-hander and then suddenly the road tilts you up and this newly banked Ari line dike curve brings you onto the pit straight. Formula 1 is going to be oh so spectacular around here. That's Kumar Prabhakaran being lapped in the VS racing car, by the way, as they come over the line. Second, third, fourth go through. Milos Pavlovich still clear. Actually, not like that much anymore. 1.6 seconds. He's not disappearing up the road, as you might have anticipated. Off the banking goes Balthazar, back onto the power. And now the cars thread their way through Hunsrück. Speed building all the time here. Into turn 7, turn in, the road drops away, plunges you downhill. And it's a fast corner as well. It's one that is a real challenge for the drivers. It catches out many. battle is joined also, by the way, in the AM contest. Gabriele Rindoni has got Ray Calvin bearing down on him for class honours, as you see Balthazar inch back up onto the tail here of Kevin Gilardoni as they sweep once more out of turn 10. The fourth place car as well, Max Houston, is getting a little bit nearer. Fifth going through is Michael Dorbecker, there for 6th and 7th, Kevin Rossell and Raoul Gutzman. Further back in the pack, the next of the Oregon cars with that very distinctive multicoloured paint scheme is that of Guillaume Peugeot. And where do we find the battle for AM honours? Gabriele Rindoni there, a couple of lengths in hand. Actually, Ray Calvin's dropped back a fraction on this lap. So just under 7 minutes now until we get to the pit window. Going through is number 10, Ray Calvin, powering his way out of the line dike curve. So the driver that won the AM class yesterday, Raffaele Giannoni, who's had 3 wins, not here this weekend, so giving others an opportunity to score big, as there Gabriele Rindoni moves through on the outside line, dropping into the Tarzan hairpin, moving through past the lapped car of Kumar Prabhakaran. Rindoni accelerates on them, makes the run over the brow out of Hunsrug now, onto the power once more. Now, Kevin Rossell is still under attack, as you can see, number 7, the 2019 Super GT Denmark champion. A challenge is made there, Danny Kreutz up on the inside of Andrea Kohler. They're not in the same class, but it is for position on the track. So Danny Kreutz goes into the top 10, up from the back of the grid, still pushing hard, still going well. And now down towards the braking zone once again they come. So the way that Kreutz is going suggests that that car could be a real factor as the race wears on, as others potentially start to drop down the order. Now, Dan Pell, his co-driver, is another of the Lamborghini young drivers, but in his first season of racing these cars, so Kreutz is the more experienced. There you've got Rindoni still keeping Calvin at bay for AM honours. Pavlovich leading by 1.5 seconds. The last time around, in fact, slightly quicker, was Kevin Gilardoni. So Pavlovich, even though he's got the lead, isn't escaping from the 2nd, 3rd, 4th train. He is getting away from the class opposition as Calvin challenges on the inside for the class lead in AM, going down towards Tarzan, but he can't do it. Had a long look, had a long try, but it didn't pay out for him. There through Rindoni, Calvin showing intent, isn't he? The Canadian driver, Ray Calvin. We saw at Spa, for example, last year on the podium, and he's bounced back for a full season in Europe this year, and he's going really well. Some new circuits for him, but adapting very effectively indeed. He's done some Carrera Capitalia racing as well as the 24-hour series, so he does have European track knowledge. Bit of lappery further down the order there. Who is that being negotiated? I think that's the Privitello father and son entering, and so that car drops a lap. There you've got going by 27, Guillaume Peugeot at the wheel of it, and he will give that car over for the 2nd stint of the race to Massimo Siglia. As straight on goes Privitello. It is Luciano starting today's race, and he's gone up the escape road, almost being terrorised out of the way by the quicker cars on the lead lap, as they're diving down towards the Kumho bot. Goes 99, Andrea Kohler, who had a spin in yesterday's race, and he's keeping at bay, as you see, 27. So Guillaume Peugeot right up behind him as they dive off the banking. This battle is on for 11th place now as they come past the pits once again. Down towards Tarzan they turn through the right-hander. So up front it remains Miros Pavlovich by only 1 second from Kevin Gilardoni. The gap is coming down and down and down, lap after lap, as up the banking goes Kohler. Guillaume Peugeot stays with him, number 27 for Oregon, hugely experienced team. But Guillaume Peugeot, who was 3rd in Spanish F4 back in 2018, taking this fight to him as he adapts all the while to GT cars. And again, he was a regular in the series last year. That's the leader. So Milos Pavlovic is still up front, even though second, third and fourth are getting closer all the time. On board with Max Ooston, he is in fourth place, 4/10 back from Balthazar. I think quite a lot of the work now is going to be done either in the pits or on the second stint of the race, isn't it? You can make a better pit stop, you might just be able to jump ahead, but you're slightly dependent on the pace of your second driver now. There through Max Ooston. You see how the banking takes effect, and then the road tilts you back again as it levels out, flicks you back onto the start straight. And the race leaders then on to lap number 12 now, with the gap just over a second. Now, Pavlovic to Zaruba, which is the gap for Pro-Am, is nearly 11 seconds, so that is what, effectively, Peter Matic is going to have to preserve in the second stint for a class win. And there's the leading car of Pavlovic going deep up the banking at turn 3. Max Ooston through, still hustling on. This is the view as he comes out of Skyflak now. So Milos Pavlovic the leader, Kevin Gilardoni second, Sebastian Balthazar third, Max Ooston fourth, Michael Dorbecker fifth, Kevin Rossell sixth. More Lapri is imminent because there was Hans Fabry and Daniel Waszyński together. They're going to be negotiated shortly by this freight train for the race lead. The leading, what have we got? 4 in a line pretty much now. Here they come, down into turns 11 and 12. And with the back markers ahead, where do they encounter the slower cars? As there's a bit of correction needed there. Look, from Max Ooston into the line dark curve. That's Hans Fabry going through. 24 is Oliver Freimuth getting out of the way and finding himself on the sand. Look, you can see it coming from underneath the car there. He's on that really dirty line on the outside, but they've negotiated one. So the next car, as I say, is going to be that of Hans Fabry, the Imperiale Racing entry right there. But look at the lead gap that has come right down. Kevin Gilardoni, as we get towards the end of his stint, is right there on the tail of Pavlovic. Now, is he going to find a way through, or is that going to happen on the second stint when Porcini takes on Peter Matic? There, look. Balthazar, Sebastian Balthazar third with Max Ooston right up behind him, so it's 4 for the lead and the back marker getting out of the way. Hans Fabry goes deep up the banking. 1 goes through, 2, 3, 4, they're all gone by. So Max Ooston blasts on. There as the cars work lap number 13. Milos Pavlovic still leads the way. We've got our first pit stopper, incidentally. Andrei Lewandowski has come in out of Pro-Am, having not really featured in the way that he normally does in the opening stint. But Karol Bash takes over that car nice and early. It had problems yesterday in the second stint. Lewandowski then gives way to Bash, as you see there, Max Ooston. So the pit window is open for 10 minutes. Somebody going slowly. He's had a flat tyre. 24, Oliver Freimuth. Now, we saw him up on the dirty line, but it looks like the front right's deflated, doesn't it? So Oliver Freimuth limping onto the pits as Gabriel Rindoni, Ray Calvin and there Kiko Galbiati all come steaming up behind him. So has he been off? Has he run over something? And there, off the road, is Michael Dorbecker. And can he dig himself out of the gravel? Forget it. That is well beached. Michael Dorbecker is off the road at the Kumho-Bocht, looking at that. Pit window opens. So Kevin Gilardoni is in, Sebastian Balthazar is in, but it might well be that we end up with an interruption to the race, possibly after all of the pit stops now. That's come at the worst possible time for the race director. So Pavlovic it is, who still leads the way, staying out for as long as possible. Max Ooston is in second spot. We had briefly Gilardoni make his way through, but then to come into the pit lane, it means that Pavlovic gets his lead back, 6/10 up on Max Ooston, and he might not preserve that for much longer either. So now the drivers have to serve the regulation pit stop. That tells you what happened to number 6, Michael Dorbecker. So the Mexican driver goes off the road. And as I say, I can't see that car coming out of there. So surely, once the pit stops are done, it will end up being retrieved under a caution. But for the moment, we've still got a green flag showing all around the circuit on the timing screen. This, heading towards the incident zone, is Max Ooston. So he comes down towards the Hans-Ernst Bocht, right on the back of the leader. So Milos Pavlovic under attack very definitely right now. More correction needed from Ooston. Presses on. There is Kevin Gilardoni. We go safety car. The safety car is deployed during the pit window. Now that is going to play havoc for some, and it's going to be heaven for others, because if you've pitted, does that help or hinder? We'll have to wait and see. And not coming in, that could be the wrong call, Max Ooston. So he's going to get the lead of the race, but others are going to get a free pit stop effectively here, because their stops are going to be done under the safety car. So I'm not sure that Bonaldi have got that right. In has come the car of Milos Pavlovic. We'll see who's going to win on these pit stops now, with the safety car having been deployed. So Max Ooston is the one that stays out, but potentially he's going to do his stop and fall to the back of the queue here. The question is whether anybody that's stopped before the safety car benefits hugely by getting up the order as a consequence. So there is 61, Max Wearing in. His pit stop slightly longer anyway, because he's a solo driver, 3 seconds longer if you're on your own than if you've got a co-driver, because the soloists are deemed to know more about the state of the circuit. So here is the safety car and Max Ooston, and almost everybody else is in the pits now, including Oliver Freimuth, who's just been in for that replacement tyre as much as for the regulation stop. So Freimuth goes back to the race. Everybody else cycles through the pit stops over at Oregon with the piratical cross on the side of the car. They have the driver change to put now Massimo Siglia into it. The piratical car behind the Wearing car. There is Max Wearing getting away. So everybody eager to get back out on track, but we are, of course, under safety car conditions right now. So at the end of the next lap, anticipate Max Ooston to come in, and then we'll work out the winners and the losers. Peter Matic there falls behind Noah Watt, seemingly, so that's going to put him third, but keep the lead of Pro-Am. And as far as the race order is concerned, if you take Max Ooston out of the equation, it should now be number 11 of Leonardo Porcini in the lead of the race, but we just need to factor in those that stopped a lap ahead, but did they benefit much? So there you've got Leonardo Porcini going through, the former single-seater racer driving for Oregon. Very successful team from one-make Clios, BMWs, from the World Touring Car Championship, now coming to Lamborghini Super Trofeo. It works so well, that colour scheme, on anything they've ever run. It's the familiar Oregon colours. And for the end of this 15th lap, Max Ooston is behind the safety car, and surely he's going to come in, but if he does, he's going to drop right to the back of the pack. So the leader comes in. The safety car had the right car behind it, incidentally. This isn't an error from race control. So the safety car picked up the leader. The leader has now pitted, and that means that Andrei Lewandowski is behind the safety car, but he was one of the earlier pit stoppers. So Lewandowski goes through, and now somewhere is the rest of the pack. Now, can 54 get out before the train of cars comes through? The answer is no. Oliver Freimuth's just gone charging past the pits, and Leonardo Porcini then will take over the lead from Noah Watt, from Peter Matic, from Raul Gutzmann, from Dan Peel, from Max Wearing. Yeah, so Max Ooston's car timed that wrong. Look, it's just dropping further and further down the order. That's a rather frustrated Michael Dorbecker, who's trudged his way through the gravel and now has to stand and watch. So we have the race currently under the safety car conditions like this. Back into the race goes the 54 entry of Milan Tikans. So we're riding with Milan Tikans. We'll see at the end of this lap where he's dropped to, and drop he certainly has. We also, there you see the leader. Need to see whether the race officials are going to allow those lapped cars to go by. They, in a sense, don't need to, because they did have the correct car behind. It's only that the leader has pitted that's now jumbled the order. It's not that they've picked up the wrong car, if you're following this. This is why pit stops during safety car periods, or indeed safety car periods during pit windows, are an absolute nightmare for a team in race control. 99 has come back into the pit lane, incidentally, which is Dmitry Vatsava, so that's not the regulation stop, they've done that. And so number 99 from the target team is seemingly a retirement. Tikans view, which is now lots and lots of cars, that's for sure. So as the pit window is open, we are still under yellow flags, and the field turns over the line. How many laps is that in the book now? 16. Leonardo Porcini leading from Noah Watt. And where is 54 out of all of this? Milan Tikans led when he came in, but is now 8th as a consequence of stopping effectively a lap late under the safety car. Round the banking goes Tikans and at turn 3. But the recovery of car number 6, hopefully, can't be that far away now to get the race back underway. So I'm awaiting news of the pit stop, of the safety car coming in. The pit window has now closed, incidentally, although the legend says open, it is not, it's now shut. We've had the 10 minutes that's allotted. There's Michael Dorbecker's car out of the way. And the cars making their way towards the end of the lap, and I think we're going to get the safety car in pretty soon, looking at this, because I think the recovery operation's almost done. There goes Porcini. So he's the race leader. Could they be on for a 3rd win of the season here? They won both at Paul Ricard, one after a penalty for somebody else promoted them, and the second one was rather more straightforward the day after. So as the field all bunches up through turn 16, are we getting set for a restart? Let's see. On his toes is Max Wearing, but the safety car, there's no legend on the screen to say it's come in. I thought number 6 was out of the way now, but Daniele Garbiati, the race director, is making sure that the road is clear, and marshals are back where they need to be before we go racing once more. Now, Milos Pavlovic has done his stint. He was the race leader and is in the pit lane. He can tell Gemma Scott all about it.
Milos, you seem to be starting very, very well, had great pace in the beginning and then seemed to slow slightly. Was there a problem?
Well, I didn't slow down. I actually pushed as much as I could, but the problem is the tire pressures, we didn't do them spot on. The rears went too high, and I was struggling so much in the fast corners. In fact, the car was great at the beginning, and then just a little bit too much struggle for me. So, yeah. But anyways, I did my best. I enjoyed it out there, and let's hope Peter brings it back home as high as possible.
Is there anything he can do now?
Push. Yeah,
Okay.
He's going to do his best, and we will see. We will see.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So Milos Pavlovic, who, by the look of it, after that stint, was sort of feeling the effects of driving a car on the wrong pressures. Quite a physical stint that must have been. So Petar Matic, his co-driver, is still third overall. There he is, looking at the green car. The class opposition is Bronek Formanek, who is 9th overall. So in other words, there are lots of pro-class cars between them as a buffer. And also, of course, relatively, the number of racing laps is ebbing away here. So, still behind the safety car as the... oh, this is the reason why. Michael Dorbecker's car has been taken from the gravel, but now needs to be put somewhere else. So, it's a very delicate operation. The cranes introduced in anticipation of the Dutch Grand Prix, because with gravel traps rather than run-off tarmac, you need to get cars out of the way. Safety car in at the end of this lap. Well, they're nearly at the end of it, so it's a late call, but the race director keen to let people go. Yep, lights are out, so we're going to go back racing this time. Up towards the line they come. So Leonardo Porcini leads, Noah Watts second. Petar Matic, you can anticipate to be concentrating on his class situation rather than the overall now. That's what he wants to win. And as they get away, Glenn van Berlo behind him, and then up into 5th has come Dan Pell with Danny Kruis's earlier efforts as well. Green flag waves, back racing then as the cars come over the line. And look at the car of Dan Pell on its toes, up the inside line. Tries to get past Van Berlo, does get past Petar Matic as they go into the Tarzan hairpin. The top two get away as up the curb goes Pell. So he spun himself into the gravel yesterday, but he's determined to make amends today. On board with Milan Tikens now as the cars work their way up towards the turn 3 bank left-hander out of the Gerlach box. And she's turn 2 effectively now with really just that tarmac ahead of you. It fills the screen given the steepness of the banking. A gear is grabbed by Milan Tikens, but for number 7, Jonathan Chicotto, he too is a man in a big hurry trying to force his way forward. Gets up the inside of Petar Matic, who defends as best he can. Round the outside there goes Tikens, almost rubs against Chicotto as they come off turn 7. A real fight for Milan Tikens, that is. He's hung out to dry on the outside line, gets away with it. And there, look, he is in danger of losing another place, because now to the inside line goes Max Weering, and he goes through, does he? Milan Tikens a bit stuck behind Petar Matic, who's got them attacking him from all sides right now. To the inside goes Tikens, and he's done it. To the outside and through as well goes Weering. So the two Dutch drivers then get past the Serbian. Case of double Dutch that, as they go now down towards turns 11 and 12 once more. Tikens fends off Weering. Now, there is Petar Matic, and all of a sudden, the next car in the queue behind him is Bronek Formanek. So with all the pro opposition having gone, suddenly it leaves Matic exposed to his class rivals as the cars now go down towards the right-hander of turn 13. The Kumho Bok number 12 goes through there, which is the hard-charging Boots and Gignon car. Now Pierre Felagioni at the wheel of it. Yesterday's class winner, 18th overall, but with 13 minutes on the clock, the leaders go through. So Porcini to what? 0.3 of a second, and look at that for Pro-Am honours. Petar Matic now has got virtually nothing in hand over Bronek Formanek, and Oscar Lee in the car that Dan Wells started from last on the grid. That's now 3rd in class, and he's not that far behind them either. Pro-Am is building up nicely. Big lockout from Tikens. It goes really deep into the turn 3 banking. Did he get away with that? There's the Pro-Am lead about to change. Side by side off the corner they go. Petar Matic, though, hangs onto the place. So good job being done here benefits from having Milos Pavlovic as a co-driver, as a teammate. He can learn from him, but look at the black car in third place. That is Oscar Lee, who is absolutely charging now. That car started last, and it's almost up now, challenging for a class lead. The China GT and Asian Formula Renault racer, Oscar Lee, has raced in Europe before in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo, but it's many, many years since the cars were last here. So, Pro-Am 1, 2 and 3, and in fact 4, because behind Oscar Lee is Massimo Siglia, and then 5 because you've got Kiko Galbiati. So the leading 5 in Pro-Am set to go head-to-head for 12 minutes here, side-by-side for the class lead, and through on the outside line goes Formanek. So Bronek goes through, up the curb there goes Massimo Siglia as he tries to get past Oscar Lee, but to no avail. Switchy sides coming now up towards the approach to the Kumho box, into the right-hander. There is Galbiati, the inside of Siglia. And then behind them is a charging Karol Bash. So it's all happening. They're all building up. There's a massive queue now behind Petar Matic as they come off the final corner up towards the line. Past the pits they go. Lamborghini Huracans absolutely filling the road. On the outside line, through goes Kiko Galbiati, chased by Karol Bash. They are pros out of Pro-Am, and they have just gained a huge amount of real estate there. So Galbiati's up into 9th. Bash goes 12th over the line and 10th into turn 1. Having said all of this, there are now pit stops being looked at. One of them comes from Glenn van Berlo. Another one is from 54, which is the car of Milan Tikens and Maxime Ousted. Another one being looked at, Ray Calvin, and the final one, Gabriel Rindoni. So there are pit stops under investigation, possibly for being too short. Massimo Siglia comes under attack now from Ray Calvin. And just ahead of the pair of them there, Gabriel Rindoni, who is the leading AM at the moment. Pierre Falegioni is still leading in the Lamborghini Cup. 11 minutes are on the clock, ticking on down. So there, Karol Bash versus Kiko Galbiati, second at the moment. Those two are fighting for within the Pro-Am contest as Bronek Formanek tries to keep the advantage of 3 seconds just up the road, and he's being helped slightly by these two squabbling. Kiko Galbiati returning to Lamborghini Super Trofeo, really here to help Miguel Ramos, but Ramos has stood down for this race, drove yesterday, and so that's why Galbiati had that drive through. And has he been off the road because there was a noise in the background suggesting somebody had had a moment, and he has been off because he's delayed, look, and past him goes Oscar Lee. So Kiko Galbiati makes a mistake, and there's a drive-through penalty coming for, first of all, 21 Gabriel Rindoni, and also for number 12, Pierre Falegioni, the Lamborghini Cup class leader, gets a drive-through. Is that Galbiati out wide again on the dirt and slowing as though he's got a problem as he comes off the corner. So there, down towards turn 1, Massimo Siglia in a hurry. But yes, Kiko Galbiati is back right out of it, so maybe he's got a problem, an issue with the car. He certainly slowed, and perhaps realising as well that he's got no chance of a class win anymore. Does he need to put everything on the line? But I just wonder, looking at the poise of the car at turn 1 as it went through the shot, whether it wasn't a bit low on one side. In the meantime, however, there are still battles to be resolved, like the lead. So number 11, Leonardo Porcini, ahead of Noah Watt as they come out of turn 10 now. Number 41 is being given a time penalty of 93 thousandths of a second for being short on the pit stop as Galbiati parks it. I think he has got a flat. 54 is being given a 0.861 of a second penalty at the end of the race. It's the left rear, isn't it, that's gone down on Galbiati's car, which I suspect is what pitched him off the road. And this is Oscar Lee getting it all wrong at turn 3 and bouncing into the rectocell barrier, but thankfully carrying on in the race. That could have been a whole lot worse. So we've got a couple of drive-throughs and then a couple of time penalties to throw into the mix at the end of the race as the drivers now work lap 23, and we've got just 8.5 minutes of the race still to go. So Leonardo Porcini leading by half a second at the moment over Noah Watt in second position. There, going through, is Petar Matic, number 3. Number 4 on his tail is Claude-Yves Gosselin. So Petar Matic is dropping down the order, but he's got very, very experienced and very quick guys around him. Down the pit road comes to serve the drive-through Gabriel Rindoni. So that takes him out of second place in the AM contest. might have been for being so short on the pit stop that you get a drive through. If you're just fractions of a second, that's multiplied, and that's what your penalty is, to be added on as a time. But if you're a big chunk under, that instantly translates into a drive-through penalty. So there's 11, that's the leader, that's Leonardo Porcini, and is the Oregon car going to hang on to the advantage? At the moment, it rather looks as though it is, because behind, Glenn Van Berlo is closing on Noah Watt. Remember, Van Berlo gets a penalty at the end of 93 thousandths of a second, so he needs to try and build the gap. There is 23, the lapped car of Kumar Prabhakaran. And 21, back into the race now, Gabriele Rindoni. Fastest lap, incidentally, to Milos Pavlovic from the first stint of the race. Up the banking goes Leonardo Porcini, slingshots the car off it, onto the power again here. Kiko Galbiati out of the race, but very definitely in it is there Noah Watt, but he can't quite stay on the back of Porcini, who makes a bit of an error going up towards Skyflach at that time. The car unsettled as it turned into the right-hander, and another drama for Bronek Fomenek. Now that's significant because he was the leader of Pro-Am and he's not anymore, because Karol Bash, number 16, the Polish driver, goes through, picks up the place. So off the road, the Czech driver Bronek Fomenek, and it means now that Karol Bash goes through. New class leader in Pro-Am. So a car that didn't really shine at all in the early part of the race, there now is looking very strong indeed in Pro-Am. They've already had this season 2 victories, one at Monza, one at Paul Ricard, and it's looking good for Bash and Lewandowski after mechanical dramas yesterday. Karol Bash, the Pole, but does a lot of his racing in Italy. Italian GT racing, and Italians facing the wrong way there. Donovan Privitello. That's down at turn 1 in the car run by the FFF racing team. The Andrea Caldarelli squad, familiar of course from GT World Challenge, coming into Super Trofeo this year with the Lamborghini Cup class car, but it's facing the wrong way, and that brings out a yellow flag. And he's trying to rejoin, but it's in a really difficult place to try and find a gap in the traffic, because it's right round a hairpin corner, of course, that. So Porcini, Watt, Van Berlo, 5 minutes are on the clock as Leonardo Porcini for Oregon accelerates through. You've got to say, Oregon has made a big impact on the championship this year, not only in terms of the colourful cars, but also this could be a 3rd race win out of 6 races within the championship. The only other winner we've talked about Max Weering, talked about Watt and Balthazar of yesterday, but we did have Alberto Di Falco taking a win at Monza in the car that Kiko Galbiati was driving here, kind of a guest car, and Alberto Di Falco was there for the first round, but not doing the whole championship. Privitello, by the way, has recovered from his moment at Tarzan. He's done his 3-point turn and has got away, so the road is clear once more down there, as there Glenn Van Berlo turns through. The Dutch driver accelerates once more down towards the 11-12 sequence around the back of the paddock, but Glenn Van Berlo, the driver that's come to the championship this year for Target Racing, from karting, from F4, from the Euro Formula Open, Formula 3 style cars. He's also had the odd outing in the MRF Challenge, and right now is looking for a 2nd place. He's taken a couple of 3rds this year, has Glenn Van Berlo with Raoul Gutzmann. But what can he do here? Coming up towards the exit of the Line Dyke curve, just under 4 more minutes, and a lap is 1 minute and 40. Leonardo Porcini, 11 tenths to the good. It's not a massive advantage, but he's looking a bit more secure. Goes now through the Tarzan hairpin once again. The left and the right that takes them through the Gerlach Bocht up towards Hugenholtz. There is the recovering Bronek Fomenek, still 2nd in class in Pro-Am. Accelerates through with, behind him, Massimo Siglia, also for Oregon, trying to bring down the gap so that he is part of that mix as well. So Fomenek goes through, turns his way out of Tarzan, back onto the power once again. So Glenn Van Berlo, 4 tenths back from Noah Watt, and also has to overcome a 93 thousandths of a second penalty. Milan Tikens is 6th, just 3.7 seconds ahead of Max Waring, and he's also getting a time penalty of 8 tenths of a second at the end of the race, but he'll be okay to survive and hang on to the place, looking at the gaps. There goes Fomanek on this 26th lap of the race. Goes through Skyflak now. The field turning through. So there is Ray Calvin, who is now the leading AM, so he's on target for a double this weekend, seemingly. The Canadian driver who elects to do the driving on his own. It's interesting, some of the AMs or the Lamborghini Cup drivers don't want to go the full 50 minutes. They find it very hard work. Others are of the opinion that they want as much track time as they can, so very happy to spend more time in the car. If you pay your money, it takes your choice, because the regulations do permit for the co-driver. Now, what about Dan Pell? A really good stint this. There he is, number 33, ahead of Jonathan Cecotto. Dan Pell up into 4th place, with the efforts also of Danny Cruz helping in the first stint. There's going to be one more lap to run at the end of this. Now, can Cecotto find a way by? The last lap from the Venezuelan was a 39.5. He took 4 tenths out of Dan Pell last time through. Into Skyflak they come now. So 33. Dan Pell turns through the corner. This car from the Bonaldi team. A new co-driver for Dan Pell for this weekend, because Eric Meyrink had been driving with him in the first couple of races, wasn't as quick, and so Danny Cruz brought into the car for the purposes of this weekend, and we'll see if he continues for the rest of the championship season. So there is number 7, Jonathan Cecotto. One more lap to go for him to try to find a way up the order here. A look at turn 11 to no avail. Dan Pell's car widens. He's another driver busy for Lamborghini. He's part of the Young Driver programme, racing in Italian GT this year, as well as in Super Trofeo. Swings his way through the right-hander of Kumho Bocht up towards the line Dyke curve. Again, off the banking they'll come now. Fire through the corner, out the other side, and over the timing line. The race leader is 1.7 seconds to the good onto this last lap. Leonardo Porcini, Noah Watt in 2nd place. And then for 3rd, Glenn Van Berlo. He's going to overcome that penalty to keep Dan Pell at bay, but what he won't do is gain a place. He's not going to get close enough to attack, I don't believe, Noah Watt for 2nd. So it's going to be a win and a 2nd for Watt and Balthazar. And for the combination of Porcini and Kevin Gilardoni, it is going to be a 3rd and a win. Jonathan Cecotto goes through. He's one of the fastest drivers. He's another of the Lamborghini junior programme, but Jonathan not sparkling in this stint in quite the same way that he has elsewhere. Put him at the front, let him go from the front of the grid. He just flies away. World final winner a couple of years ago, Middle East champion. But Leonardo Porcini turns through and is on target for a race win here, because the Oregon car in this 2nd stint has been able to get clear of Noah Watt there in 2nd place. Running 3rd still, Glenn Van Berlo. But as the cars come down towards turns 11 and 12 for the last time, Van Berlo is on his toes, closing onto the Dane as they go right, then left, and it's another banked corner. Not as steep as the man-made banking, but it does have some banked camber within it. Up towards the Kumho Bocht they come again as Van Berlo darts out one side, trying to unsettle Watt to open the door, but it's not happening. The checkered flag is at the ready, mind you, and it's going to be waved in a moment at the race leader, now race winner. Leonardo Porcini and Kevin Gilardoni win for the 3rd time this season in Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe. 2nd goes the way of Noah Watt and Sebastian Balthazar, just ahead of Glenn Van Berlo and Raul Gutzman. Dan Pell and Danny Cruz take 4th, Jonathan Cecotto, Kevin Rossell 5th, and Milan Tikens and Max Houston 6th, possibly ruining that pit stop that was made arguably a lap late. This for Pro-Am is 8th overall, Karol Bash, who guides the car started by Andrei Lewandowski towards the line. Up towards the line he comes, goes through now, and there's a class win. That's the 3rd of the season for Lewandowski and Bash. And Ray Calvin is on target for a 2nd of the season and a 2nd of the weekend within the AM categories. He now makes the run up towards the timing line at the end of the race. So Ray Calvin on target for the class win. Goes through right on the back of Oscar Lee, who takes third in Pro-Am, in fact. And the winning Lamborghini Cup entry, which should be not far away, is going to be Hans Fabry once more. So that's a third win of the year for Hans Fabry in the Lamborghini Cup. But it's a win, as you see, for Leonardo Porcini and Kevin Gilardoni from Noah Watt, Sebastian Balthazar's car second, Glenn van Berlo and Raoul Gutzmann taking third. Pro-Am, Karel Basch and Andrei Lewandowski the winners. Second, Bronek Formanek and Josef Zaruba. Third, Oscar Lee and Dan Wells. In the Am contest, Ray Calvin the winner, Gerhard Watzinger second, and Gabriele Rindoni third. Lamborghini Cup honours to Hans Fabry from Pierre Feligioni and Daniel Waszinski's car. And third, despite the spin, Donovan and Luciano Privitello. So that is how it pans out at the end of the second Lamborghini Super Trofeo race of the weekend. Drivers will shortly make their way to the pit lane, to the Parc Fermé area. At the end of some lively racing, as ever. Let's just confirm the way they came across the line. Kevin Gilardoni and Leonardo Porcini, the race winners, ahead of Sebastian Balthazar and Noah Watt. Raoul Gutzmann taking third with Glenn van Berlo. Dan Pell and Danny Krust next, ahead of Jonathan Chicotto and Kevin Rossell. Milan Tikens and Maxime Ooston sixth. The first of the soloists, seventh, Max Wearing on his own, of course, with Karel Basch and Andrei Lewandowski winning Pro-Am from Bronek Formanek and Josef Zaruba. Dan Wells, heroics with Oscar Lee taking third in class. Ray Calvin 10th, winning the AMs ahead of Gerhard Watzinger. Then it was third in the class, Gabriele Rindoni some way back. Hans Fabry 17th to win Lamborghini Cup ahead of Pierre Feligioni, and then third, Donovan and Luciano Privitello. So there is a very happy Kevin Gilardoni, and Leonardo Porcini in the car will be just as pleased, I'm sure, taking that victory. Out he steps. And handshakes all round for the Oregon team. As I say, new to Super Trofeo this year, but doing a very, very impressive job, no question about it. So for Leonardo Porcini, win number 3 with Kevin Gilardoni. They're making a good combination. Leonardo, fractionally the quicker, you could argue, but you put them together, it comes out as a very, very good combination of drivers indeed. Big cheer goes up in the background as the Oregon team with the flag flying. Kevin Gilardoni is there. Leonardo Porcini still with his helmet on, but we'll hopefully hear from him as soon as he's free with Gemma.
Kevin, Leonardo, a fantastic result. Kevin, we were just talking there, you've a third win now this season. This is exactly the way you want it to go.
Yeah, yesterday we missed the win for nothing. We worked on the car for today, and I did a good first stint, and then Leo finished the job. So we are so happy. We will go into the first part of summer with a lot of motivation to come to Spa and be as fast as we can.
Thank you very much, Leo. Just a quick word there. Of course, you pulled out a fantastic gap. You were nice and comfortable towards the end, it looked like.
Yeah, I was just controlling the gap from the guy behind. I was so comfortable, so confident with the car. Also because we saw yesterday, analyzing data and everything with Kevin, that our car in the second stint is very strong, so I was very confident. He did the job on the first stint, really, to have a good start and pass Balthazar straight away, and he did it. I'm very happy, thanks to Oregon team and Lamborghini Sparkers.
Congratulations to you and all the team. Thank you.
Thank you. Ciao.
So complimentary Oregon, Kevin Gilardoni and Leonardo Porcini. Win number 3, great season, and the point being made that that's helping to build the championship lead for Spa, where they will go next over the last weekend of July. Let's look back at race 2 of the weekend. A good getaway from Milos Pavlovic from pole position put him into the lead, and the cars dive down towards the right-hander of the Tarzan hairpin, with, up on the outside line, a slower starting Sebastian Balthazar, and that dropped him back behind Kevin Gilardoni. That, in a sense, did for them for the race, because Sebastian was never really able to come back and retake the advantage as the cars fought their way up through the opening lap to the race. Making good progress in the back, Danny Kruis moving himself up past Andrzej Lewandowski. And battles raged on all the way through. The next target for the Dutchman was Andrea Kohler. Kruis through on the inside at turn 10. He wasn't done yet as the car carved its way up the order. Up the escape road went Donovan Privitello, slightly terrorised out of the way, but for the race leader, it was looking pretty good up front until the pit stops beckoned and Milos Pavlovic had to give way to Peter Matic. Just before that, we lost Michael Dorbecker into the gravel trap. The car eventually getting itself bogged down, and that meant that we had to have a safety car period. Many pitted, but as 54 stayed out, that car inherited the lead, stopping a lap later. It then fell down the order, and it meant, as a consequence, that on the restart, it was all about Leonardo Porcini in the lead of the race, although, again, Dan Pell was on his toes trying to get up the order as the cars worked their way down towards the Tarzan hairpin. There were plenty of shuffles going on in the classes as well, as Petar Matic dropped back behind Bronek Formanek and also lent on Max Weering, but some great battles raged on. Kiko Galbiati making progress before a puncture, and Karol Bash ultimately coming through in number 16 there to take the win in Pro-Am. Oscar Lee bouncing off the barriers up at the banking of Hugenholz. Across the gravel rally crossed Bronek Formanek, as up to the checkered flag, Leonardo Porcini and Kevin Gilardoni took win number 3 of season 2021. Let's go to the podium then. We've got 4 of them, as out come the drivers for our first class, which is the pros. That's Raoul Gutsman and Glenn van Berlo, the Dutch driver getting a good reception. Second placed team, Noah Watt and Sebastian Balthazar. And then for win number 3 of the year, Kevin Gilardoni and Leonardo Porcini step forward for the top step of the podium. An excellent effort done by them, by Oregon once more, suggesting that it's not the case, that it's been in the championship forever, and adapting very, very well to Super Trofeo this year. So the drivers celebrate as the winning team's national anthem plays at Zandvoort. So well done to the pro crews. They will, in a moment, hold trophies in the air for photographs, make their way off the podium. And we will quickly move on to Pro-Am, which will be the next one. Pro-Am podium will step forward shortly. And for third place, it is Oscar Lee and Dan Wells that step forward. Second in Pro-Am goes to Josef Zaruba and to Bronislav Formanek, to the very noisy Czech team. The ACF squad is Josef Zaruba, Bronek Formanek onto the podium. And then for the top step, Karol Bash and Andrzej Lewandowski step forward for them. Class win number 3 of the year. There's Karol Bash onto the top step. And for the VS Racing team, the team's representative will step forward as well. So the Pro-Am drivers then celebrate at the end of this 6th race within the championship and make their way from the podium. Dan Wells, good to have him back racing in Europe, having been part of the SRO GT Asia Esports Championship at the back end of last year. Then the AM class podium will be next as the drivers step forward with their After his penalty, Gabriel Rindoni for third place, the Luxembourg driver. Second in the class will be there, making his way onto the podium, Gerhard Watzinger, and win number 2 of the weekend to the Canadian Ray Calvin, coming forward to celebrate race honours once more. And on the basis that he's forgotten his mask, he's all smiles. You can tell that as Ray Calvin holds his trophies in the air. You get the Pirelli Class Winners Trophy, and the Lamborghinis, the gold, the bronze, the silver for the drivers. So that is AM. Such is the generosity of this championship that there is another one still to come. So that means that the Lamborghini Cup drivers will come to the podium next. For third place from the FFF racing team should be the father and son Privitellios, Luciano and Donovan. It's all going swimmingly up until this point. The Privitellios will be there somewhere behind the podium where you collect your trophies and then step forward. And for second place in the class will be Pierre Falegioni and Daniel Waszyński, who of course did lead but got a drive-through penalty. And then Hans Fabry taking, for him, a third victory of the season. So we've either lost a driver or we've lost some trophies, because I can see some of the crews there. But for Hans Fabry, for the Imperiali Racing squad, win number 3 of the season. And so I think we are now just about ready to go. So out will come for third place there, the Privitellios. After a spin and a trip up the escape road, they get third place. Second for Pierre Falegioni and Daniel Waszyński. But for the penalty, it would have been very different. They take second place. And then for the top step, once again, Hans Fabry for Imperiali Racing. This is the true gentleman drivers class, those that have had very limited racing experience, if any, before coming into Lamborghini Super Trofeo. And Hans Fabry it is who takes a third victory of the season. So Hans Fabry takes the class win for the Italian Imperiali Racing team. And the next stop for Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe is going to be its traditional double-header supporting the Spa 24 hours at the end of July. We'll see you there. For now, from Zandvoort, from Gemma Scott and from David Addison, it's goodbye from the dunes.